I
We had
like
to,
it.
we had,
All right, there you go. You are now live on YouTube, Zulma Gonzalez. This mic is all yours.
and a magnificent Monday. Woo, to each and every only one of us. It is a chilly day in Philadelphia with my New York City sweatshirt. I bought this sweatshirt back in, I want to say 2018. I went to see Cats, the play Cats in New York. I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it every chance I got here in Philly, regardless of what I saw the movie, I saw the play. Loved it, always loved it. So I decided to take myself to New York to see it. And I had a cold. I'll never forget that day. Um, and when I left there, it was freezing. It was the wind started kicking up something crazy. And I went to the nearest novelty shop I can find, and I mean it was just along the way, and found this sweatshirt, and I love it. For those of you who are not here in the room with me, hi Cindy, good morning and welcome. Uh, you don't get to see it, and if you want to go, if you do, then you'll have to go check out the recording. For those in the room, I want to say good morning to Idelos and Fitz and Dub, and of course Lynn. Thank you for being here with me. And really, it's really just me because there's only one of me. And let me remember that always, especially when I think there's something going on out there. And of course, there is no out there. It's all based on my own perception. So I'm going to share my screen and begin as I always do, the way I always do. And that is with the reminder to mind your mind because it's your business. Dr. Ernest Holmes, founder of Religious Science, reminds us that to learn how to think is to learn how to live. The Course reminds us that this is a course in mind training and that all learning involves attention and study at some level. And also the reminder that an untrained mind can accomplish nothing. That's standing in one spot and nothing is happening. On an untrained mind can accomplish nothing. And Dr. Holmes reminds us that thoughts and things are but two ends of the same proposition. Since it is impossible to stop thinking, we cannot stop creating. Our choice is whether we shall create constructively or destructively. And that's going to come up again because today I want to talk about thoughts. I want to return to miracle principle number 12, which is that miracles are thoughts. Thoughts can represent the lower or bodily level of experience or the higher or spiritual level of experience. But what keeps getting my attention is just that first sentence, that miracles are thoughts. It doesn't say what kind of thoughts. It says that miracles are thoughts, period. And that they can represent the lower, they can go either way. Miracles can go either way. And that's what this is saying. And I keep coming back to that. Miracles are thoughts. Dr. Ernest tells us in the Science of Mind textbook on page 146 that life externalizes at the level of thought. And the Course reminds us along that same vein that there are no idle thoughts and that all thinking produces form at some level. And I think that's a really, 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 really important statement in the Course that all thinking, all of it, produces form at some level. We constantly, not I, particularly I, but oftentimes we hear it said that, that this isn't real, that this isn't real, that this isn't real. And it just the other day we were in a study and Dub was there. Um, I don't know why that's the only thing I remember that Dub was there because I had that we had a speaker. Um, we had a speaker, and I remember his name, Rob, and I'm not recalling his last name. That's um, I made it a point to make a note of that. I just don't have it in front of me, and anything I don't see, anything I can't see, it disappears. Um, but anyway, I wanted to look at it. It was very, very phenomenal. He was a guest of Susan Michelle's, and um, we were talking about the fact that we're talking about illusion and illusion and illusion, and I had posted in the chat that it's not this stuff that's an illusion. It's my belief that it's permanent. That's the illusion. My belief that the thought that I have in this moment has meaning in the next moment. It only has meaning in the moment that I say it, and then it's gone. Like everything else, it comes and goes. It comes and goes. It comes and goes. All things come to pass is written 727 times in the Bible. All things come to pass. It comes to pass. Nothing comes to stay. It comes to pass. Life externalizes at the level of our thought. There are no idle thoughts. All thinking produces form at some level. The the workbook lessons that pertain to thinking and thought are several. Workbook lesson number 4 says these thoughts do not mean anything, which is saying, and in 10 it says my thoughts do not mean anything. Any, just wandering thoughts that I think do not mean anything. The thoughts themselves have no meaning, which is interesting. Miracles are thoughts. And me saying this, the thought has no meaning. The thought itself has no meaning. Miracles are only necessary while we're in time. And once time is over, there'll be no need for it. So in that regard, miracles are as they're temporary, just like everything else that we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Anything in this world as we know it, this material, this tangible world as we know it, is temporary, and miracles are necessary only here. These thoughts do not mean anything. Miracle principle number 4. Miracle principle number 8, that my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts, which is the reason why they don't mean anything. Because they only mean something in that moment and then they're gone. It's over. It's finished. Workbook lesson 11, my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world because I am projecting, I am seeing what I'm thinking. I think the thought and then I come out here and I see the world. I make a world that follows that thought, which is stated in workbook lesson 15. My thoughts are images that I have made. I'm making the whole thing up. And in the preface of the course of the section on what it says, it talks about that. We are in here thinking a thought, and then we project it out there. It doesn't start with what's out there and then come in. It's what's in here and goes out because there is no out there. It's all the stuff I'm making up. I have no neutral thoughts. Workbook lesson 16. I have no neutral thoughts. Workbook lesson 19. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. So I'll think a thought, I'll project it out there, project it onto you. You decide to take it on. Now you've made it your thought too. And the course says that about ideas. Ideas can only expand. They don't contract, they expand. We can't lose anything. If I share an idea with you, now it's me having it times 2. And in some cases, thus it becomes with our thoughts. I put a thought out there, what we call race consciousness in religious science. I put a thought out there, and somebody grabs hold of it and decides that they're going to make that their thought too, and then they pass it on, and now it's become a thought that a lot of us are choosing to accept as true, and we are being affected by it. But cause and effect are one. We find that out, that cause and effect are one. So I am the cause of the effects. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts, because if I attempt to share it with you and you attempt to take it on as true, now you're affected by those thoughts as well. I may decide to act out on you based on my thoughts, and now you are affected. And I'm not talking about the spirit you, I'm talking about the bodily you, because miracles are thoughts and can represent a lower bodily experience. They can represent the bodily experience. The whole of all of the effects are bodily experiences, not the cause, but the effects are the bodily experiences. So I'm not alone experiencing the effects of my thoughts. Workbook lesson 23, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. These thoughts that I am choosing to hurt myself with, I think that you're the reason why I hurt. I'm blaming you for my pain. I'm blaming you for my thoughts. And that too is an attack thought, because I am hurting myself with the thought that you are the reason why I am thinking this thought. It's always my thoughts. It's always what I'm thinking. It's always what I'm thinking. My thoughts, at workbook lesson 26, my attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. The fact is that I am spirit. I am not this body. This is something that I have, something that I use, something that I need to navigate this physical environment. But I am not this. But thinking that I am, leads me to perceive myself as being vulnerable, that I can be hurt, that I can be attacked, that I can, that I can die, that any of that. But the truth is, I am spirit, and the spirit is invulnerable. I am what God is. And God is invulnerable. We don't sort of say, oh, God is vulnerable. We don't even think that. That's not even a thought. That what we recognize as God is not vulnerable, it's invulnerable. Perfect, complete, whole in every way, always, everywhere, anytime. Workbook lesson 132. And it's interesting that you don't not another thought about not another workbook lesson with containing the word thought or think or anything like that until workbook lesson 132. From 26 to 132, I loose the world, let it go from all I thought it was. You see, by the time we get into those lessons, we're beginning to change our thinking, because there are workbook lessons, the workbook saying, above all else, I want to see this differently. I want to see it differently. I want to see it differently. In order to see it differently, I have to think differently. Now, I don't include that in this group of workbook lessons simply because the word think or thought is not anywhere in it, because the word thought is not part of it. So I loose the world from all I thought it was. That is, I'm choosing to change the way I think. I'm choosing to change the way I think. I'm choosing to recognize that I am experiencing attack thoughts, and that I can change those thoughts. And we'll talk about that as we go along. Workbook lesson 165, let not my mind deny the thought of God. Now that thought is with a capital T, to which we call the science of mind. That's the mind with the capital M that we talk about. We talk about the law of mind, science of mind, and anything of that nature. That's the mind of God, the mind of the all, the mind of the invulnerable, the mind of truth. Let me not deny the capital T thought of God. Workbook lesson 221, peace to my mind. let all my thoughts be still. I wear a bracelet that says, be still and know. Be still and know. Peace to my mind. Let all my thoughts be still. Quiet them down. Let God be. Just let yourself be. Recognize there's nothing to do, nothing to say, nothing to worry about, nothing to fear. Let all my thoughts be still. Workbook lesson 281 reminds us that I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts. And 284 teaches that I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. I have choice. I have choice. And workbook lesson 338, the last of the lessons with the word thought in it, is that I am affected only by my thoughts, which brings us right back to the point that I am responsible. I am responsible, that my thoughts belong to me, that miracles are thoughts, going back to the workbook lesson. Going back to the miracle principle, that miracles are thoughts. Miracles are thoughts, and I can only be affected by my thoughts. That life externalizes at the level of our thought, that there are no idle thoughts. Life externalizes at the level of our thought. As I see it, so I create it, I make it. My perception, the way I'm thinking, is what's producing my world. All right, let's go on past that and see what some of our spiritual teachers have to say. Dr. Ernest writes in How to Use the Science of Mind, Principle in Practice, Principle in Practice, that all the words, thoughts, affirmations, and denials, the declarations and realizations in a spiritual mind treatment. Spiritual mind treatment is basically prayer. It's affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer, I'm putting that in the quotation mark here, in quotes, so that we're clear on what we're talking about. All the words, thoughts, affirmations, and denials, particularly the thoughts on where we're focusing today. All the words, thoughts, affirmations, and denials, the declarations and realizations in an affirmative prayer and a spiritual mind treatment are for the purpose of bringing the consciousness of the practitioner, or from Science of Mind, we call it the miracle worker. I'm putting that in here too. Are for the purpose of bringing the consciousness of the practitioner or / miracle worker to a higher level of spiritual acceptance, a higher level of spiritual acceptance. Words are molds. Thoughts, Dr. Ernest teaches, are things. Thoughts are things, as we just read, that all thought produces form at some level. Words are molds. It is the consciousness which flows through them that fills these molds with a living substance. And that's how they become form. The important factor then is whether or not the form that one uses causes his mind to believe. And this is key, because we rattle stuff off. I could rattle off today's workbook lesson. I could rattle off the passages from the course. I could rattle off, quotes from the Bible, which I used to do. I can rattle off, any of the mental sciences. I can rattle off the alphabet. And if I don't believe it, if I'm not, because there's no conviction, and the course teaches that, and so does all the other mental sciences. If there's no conviction, then what's the point? It's just sitting here talking, just having something to say, just taking an hour to just talk about this and that, and nothing. And nothing. Before I go further, just a quote from the course to remind us that it's all one, that we are one, that it is one. Peace be to you today. Secure your peace by practicing awareness. You are one with your Creator as He is with you. Devote to the thought, devote to the thought that you are one with God. Devote to the thought that you are one with God. And I have these slides out of order because the one that came to me from there is from Joel Goldsmith, Practicing the Presence. Morning, noon, and night, we must watch our thoughts. Morning, noon, and night, we must watch our thoughts. And in the Course, it teaches you do not guard your thoughts carefully enough. You are not used to miracle-minded thinking, but you can be trained to think that way. All miracle workers need this kind of training. You can be trained to think that way. We're talking about thoughts today. Just thoughts. This comes later. No, well, maybe we can do it right here. Maybe we'll leave it right here. And we're reminded then that God's miracles are as total as his thoughts. And here the thoughts, the word thoughts with a capital T, because they are his thoughts with a capital T. God's miracles are as total as his thoughts because they are his thoughts. I will go back and repeat the miracle principle. Miracles are thoughts. Miracles are thoughts. And again, from the Course, God's miracles are as total as his thoughts because they are his thoughts. We're talking about all miracles are thoughts. And Joel Goldsmith, in Practicing the Presence, also writes, not all the evil or false thinking on earth has any power over you or over me when we understand that love is the only power. Not all the evil or false thinking on earth has any power over you or me when we understand that love is the only power. And from that, Dr. Ernest asks, what, no. Of course, from A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles asks the question, what could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Perhaps you have misunderstood his plan, for he would never offer pain to you. Life doesn't offer pain. We call it pain. It's just one of those things that occurs. We call it bad. We call it terrible. We call it awful. We call it all these things. We choose. These are words that we choose, and they're judgments. Every single one of them. We call it good. We call it great. We call it fantastic. We call it blessings that we're being blessed. They're all these are all judgments. We decided that if we like it, it's good, and if we don't, it's not. We decide if we like it, it's God, and if we don't, it's not. No, it's all God. It's all God. Miracles are thoughts. And God's miracles are as total as his thoughts because they are his thoughts. Perhaps you have misunderstood his plan, for he would never offer pain to you. But your defenses, my defenses, our defenses, did not let us see his loving blessing shine in every step you ever took. Everything that has ever occurred has been a blessing. Everything. But we think, oh God, those doggone thoughts, there they are again, causing problems, wreaking havoc. These thoughts getting in our own way, getting in our own way. In Living the Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest writes, we can change our thinking. Doesn't, of course, say above all else, I want to see it differently. So if I want to see it differently, I have to think it differently. We can change our thinking. Hi, Michaela, welcome. And in so doing, cause the she saw her hand. She's in the room here, and I see her. I see her overhead fan. Well, see, she's warm where she is. It's chilly. There she is. We can change our thinking, and in so doing, cause the law of mind to act affirmatively for us instead of negatively. Jesus gave us the perfect technique for doing this. He told us that when our faith is in the good, capital G good, it will obliterate um all evil. I think that should be all. That it will liberate all evil. That is, good and evil are not equal powers. And good is in capital G. Good always overcomes evil. Good always overcomes evil. This is why we are not told to accentuate the positive. I'm sorry, I'm not reading this correctly. This is why we are now told to accentuate the positive and forget the negative. Just keep on thinking about peace and let confusion go. Just keep on thinking about peace and let confusion go. Just keep on thinking about peace and let confusion go. Affirm the good and forget the evil. This is a sound teaching. And I'll take that a step further to say to affirm the good and know that nothing is evil. There is no evil, because if we're saying that there is evil, we're saying that what God is evil also. And it's not so. It simply isn't so. Dr. Holmes in the Science of Mind textbook writes, that which thought has done, thought can undo. Yes, I want to see this differently. I can change my mind. I have that. I can choose. I choose. What does the workbook lesson say? The workbook lesson. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. What does workbook lesson 23 say? I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. Choosing to give them up, giving them up isn't my choice. It's a choice. Giving up attack thoughts is my choice. Loosing the world, that is a choice. I work for lesson 32. Loosing the world from all I thought it was. These are all choices. That which thought can do, thought can undo. Going back to that which thought has done, thought can undo. Lifelong habits of wrong thinking can be consciously and deliberately neutralized. Consciously and deliberately neutralized. An entirely new order of mental and emotional reaction established in mind, capital M mind. Merely to abstain from wrong thinking is not enough. There must be active right thinking. The Course teaches us that mistakes are for correction and nothing more. Mistakes are for correction. So if I'm thinking wrongly, I can choose again. I can always choose again. Merely abstaining from wrong thinking is not enough. So it's not possible to just, oh, everything, I'm just not going to, what I just read, which almost sounds contradictory, where it says, keep on thinking about peace and let confusion go. Well, to get to that peace, we have to let the confusion go. That's two different thoughts. I'm not staying in the wrong thinking. I can't just uh, let go of the thought just I can't just abstain from wrong thinking. I need something with which to replace that. I have to have active right thinking. The Course reminds us that we're much too tolerant of mind wandering, that we're not actively engaging, a habit of engaging with God. The habit of engaging with God is, and his creations, is easy if we actively refuse. What did Dr. Ernest say? Active right thinking. What does the Course teach? The habit of engaging with God and his creations is easy if we actively refuse to let our mind slip away. We keep letting things go. We just let go. We let go. We forget to hold on to our thoughts. We forget to guard our thoughts. We must become actively, Dr. Ernest continues, we must become actively constructive and happy in our thinking, not merely passively so. Because passively so, of course, back to that, is to let our mind wander. It's the sleep of forgetfulness. That's the unwillingness to remember. We must become actively constructive and happy in our thinking, not merely passively so. New and wholesome ideas of life, vitality, and hope must be accepted and incorporated into the substratum of our mental life. I have to choose how I want to think. Miracles are thoughts, and they represent either the bodily experience or the spiritual experience. I get to choose. I get to decide. But even in all that, choosing and deciding, the truth is that I am spirit. And in choosing the spiritual thought system, being that of the Holy Spirit, choosing the Holy Spirit thought system, I'm constantly brought to, as Dr. Holmes says, constructive and happy thoughts, joyful and peaceful thoughts. I am the determiner of what happens. Back to the miracle principle again. I can elect all change that all thoughts that hurt. I am affected only by my thoughts. I am affected, the workbook lesson teaches 338. I am affected only by my thoughts. I have no neutral thoughts. I can let my thoughts be still. I can elect to change my thoughts. I can do that. We can do that constantly, constantly, constantly. The habit of engaging with God. I know I keep repeating myself. I know I do. I know it. But I do it to myself, for myself, with myself when I'm not here. All right, Zulma, stop. Change your mind. Change your mind. Change your Zulma, stop, 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 stop. What are you thinking? Oh my God, that hurts. Stop. And it's happening a little bit more lately because I've had, some things that I'm consciously working on letting go. Letting go. They seem to keep, because when my mind wanders, goes back to that thought, and I start hurting myself with the thought. I can only be hurt from my thoughts. And I can elect all to change all thoughts that hurt. That which thought has done, thought can undo. That first sentence there, that sentence was written back in 19, well, his original work was in 1927, and then rewritten in his book 1938. That which thought has done, thought can undo. And it wasn't his thought. This wasn't Dr. Ernest's idea. This whole mental science thing, all of this, the metaphysical, as Joe Goldsmith reminds us, that all these metaphysical teachings, and metaphysical simply means beyond the physical, what we can't see. All these metaphysical teachings have been around for centuries, ages and ages and ages and ages. When we look at these teachers, some of these teachers, Dr. Ernest and Joe Goldsmith and Emma Curtis Hopkins and 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 all these different teachers, we find that they were studying the teachers that came before them. I believe it was in Joe Goldsmith's book. I read mention of, in the Book of the Dead. That's from Egypt. It goes back that far. We're going back all as far back as we can. There has always been the one power. There has always been just that one presence. It has always been just one. And while the motivation for the course is peace, and the goal is to know ourselves, ultimately, it's really about realizing the oneness. This is a course in oneness. It's a course in realizing that it is all one. And to attempt to think this way or that way is where the problem comes, because then I'm making up stuff, because God is one. It's written in the Bible, the Lord our God is one. New and wholesome ideas of life, vitality, and hope must be accepted and incorporated into the substratum of our mental life. It's one. It's only one. And we need to let that go. That wasn't what I intended to do. That was not intended to do that. Um, it is one. So I'm reminded that which thought has done, thought can undo. And that's the course reminding us that we can change our thoughts. We can elect to change any thought that hurt. We can make it stop, because what can you not accept? If you but know that all things are done for our good. And if we change our thinking, we can change our life. Change our thinking, change our life. Dr. Holmes reminds us in Living the Science of Mind that you are surrounded by a mind, capital M mind, capital P, capital P power, an intelligence, a capital I intelligence, that receives the impress of your thought and acts upon it exactly as you think. Your thought is like an image held in front of a mirror. Thought itself is a law reflecting back to you what you think. There's no getting around that. There's no getting around that. Back to um, the workbook lesson, that workbook lesson number 15. My thoughts are images that I have made. My thoughts are images that I have made. We keep trying to get around it. We want to think that it's something else, that that there's something outside of me that has control over what's happening in my life, that that those things out there are the reason why these things in here are happening, but not so. Not so. Your thought is like an image held in front of a mirror. You are surrounded by a capital M mind, a capital P power, an intelligence, a capital I intelligence, or a principle that receives the impress of your thought and acts upon it exactly as you think. It's in chapter 21. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and go to chapter 21 of the course. In fact, go there with me. I'll put this on share screen. And we're going to chapter 21, which we have read. We're aware of it. We have heard it over and over and over and over again. In the introduction of chapter 21, it says that projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more and nothing less. Nothing more than that. It's though it's not more than that, it is not less. There it is, for it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. I'm going to put that on the slide. The outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Change your thoughts, change your thinking, change your life. My thoughts are images I have made. My thoughts are images that I have made. It's a mirror. It reflects back to me what I put out there. And it does it each and every time. There is nothing out there. It's simply me thinking that there is. Me thinking that there is the biggest mistake ever, thinking that there is, and that what's outside of me has power over me. It is simply my thoughts. The world I see is what I gave it, nothing more than that. It is the witness to my state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's from the Bible. So is he. Back to what Dr. Ernest Holmes said. This mind, this power, this intelligence, this principle receives the impress of your thought and acts upon it exactly as you think it. Receives the impress of your thought. I'm highlighting. And a mirror. Your thought is like an image held in front of a mirror. There it is. And we hear this over and over and over and over again, and yet we still want to look outside of ourselves and think that something out there is happening. Something out there is going on. This last part, it's very tiny. Well, I can see it on the slide, and it's from Dr. Ernest Holmes again on page 143, I believe. 42 and 143, choosing thought. He says, we cannot live a choiceless life. Every day, every moment, every second, there is choice. If it were not so, we would not be individuals. We have the right to choose what we wish to experience. And I want to go right back to what the Course says. The world you see is what you gave it. Nothing more than that. And Dr. Holmes continues, we have the right to choose the kind of companions with whom we wish to associate, to say in what city and in what type of house we would like to live. We are individuals, and the only way we can be individuals is to be spontaneous. Now, this has actually nothing at all to do with what I'm talking about thought. I mean, well, part of it does. I'm choosing. I just grabbed this section because I like the title, "Choosing Thought." This is out of his book, the Science of Mind text. He says there is no such thing as a mechanistic individuality. It must have the essential element of spontaneity. We're given the gift of thought. We have this is the choice that we have. We have the choice to think. The course teaches miracles are thoughts. And that thoughts produce form at some level. And that's not to be forgotten, that every thought produces form at some level. And it's not to be forgotten that every thought is God's thought. God's thoughts and my thoughts are one. It's up to me to realize, to recognize, to choose to think the thoughts that say yes, that say yes. Because life is always saying yes. And my decision to try to negate life, to negate truth, to negate God is my problem. No, it's not that way. No, 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 no. It should be this way. That's not the way it should be. It should be this way. Me shooting on it is the problem. Me thinking that my thoughts are accurate all the time, that I'm right, is the problem. Thinking is my problem. Miracles are thoughts. I get to choose. Dr. Ernest continues, there is no spontaneity and no individuality without prerogative. There can be no choice unless there is something from which to choose. Otherwise, the ability to choose would be merely a fantasy. There's a good point. There is no choice unless there is something from which to choose. Otherwise, the ability to choose would be merely a fantasy. Therefore, there must be not only the possibility of choice, but the liability of experiencing that which is chosen. We have a right to choose what we shall induce in mind. Back to the miracle principle. Miracles are thoughts, and they represent the spiritual, which is created, or the physical, which is made. We have a right to choose what we shall induce in mind. The way in which our thoughts are to become manifest, we cannot always see. And see, that's important. That's important because, again, we are not alone in experiencing the effects of our thoughts. We're not alone in experiencing the effects of our thoughts, which is why we have to guard our thoughts, which is why we have to mind our mind, which is why we have to engage with God, because that's how we engage our thoughts, keeping our minds one with the one, remembering that it is all one. The way in which our thoughts are to become manifest, we cannot always see. Or should we be disturbed that we do not see the way? Because effect is potential in cause. Effect is potential in cause. Remember, cause and effect are one. We are cause. We are cause. We are making the decisions as to how our life is going to be. We are not affected by things out there. We are affected by things in here. As it says we just read in chapter 21 in the introduction, that that everything that is out there is based on what we think, and it's not more and it's not less. It's no more than that. Everything is out there. It's the direct impress of our thoughts. I am Alpha and Omega. Effect is potential in cause. I am Alpha and Omega, and all that comes between cause and all that comes between cause and effect. Cause and effect are really one. That sentence is Dr. Ernest wrote it. The course also says that cause and effect are one. And it cause and effect are one. We need to pay attention to that because we're looking at these effects. We think that these effects are out there. They're not. They're coming from in here. They're coming from our thoughts. Cause and effect are really one. And if we have a given cause set in motion, the effect will have to equal the cause. We call that the mental equivalent. Emmett Fox, Ernest Holmes, Thomas Troward, Emma Curtis Hopkins, Mary Baker Eddy, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and so many others. We call it the mental equivalent because what's going on in here is what we see out there, the direct impress of our thoughts. One is the inside and the other the outside of the same thing. That's what Dr. Ernest says. I'm just reading here. Effect will have to equal the cause. One is the inside and the other the outside of the same thing. A certain specific intelligent idea in mind will produce a certain specific concrete manifestation equal to itself. What did we read way at the beginning? Let me go back to that one. Life externalizes at the level of our thought, Dr. Ernest says, and the course teaches that there are no idle thoughts, that all thinking produces form at some level. This is a really, really, really important sentence here. All thinking produces form at some level. This is from A Course in Miracles. All thinking produces form at some level. Not some thinking, not some of our all thinking produces form at some level, and again and again devote thought that you are one with God. That wasn't the one. That wasn't the one. Where the course states, oh God, I don't know where it went. There, I don't know where it went. That God's thoughts are our thoughts. That our thoughts are God's thoughts. God's thoughts are our thoughts. I don't know if we're in the course. Oh, you're not reading with me. I just realized that the screen, I believe, is still at the course. And I've been reading from Dr. Holmes here. This is where I was last reading from. That cause and effect really are one. And if we have a given cause set in motion, the effect will have to equal the cause. One is the inside and the other the outside of the same thing. A certain specific intelligent idea in capital M mind will produce a certain specific concrete manifestation equal to itself. There is one infinite principle, one infinite thought stuff. I like that word. One infinite thought stuff. We're talking about thought today. One infinite creative power, but countless numbers of forms which change as the specific idea behind them changes. I don't know. I see that my friend Cynthia is in the room. Hi, Cynthia. I don't know if you were listening um, online or listening on YouTube or otherwise, but we're 4 minutes to leaving here, and we're talking about the importance of thought. of changing our thoughts, of being willing to change our thinking and change our lives. I'm going back just for the sake of, um, I had a quote by from the course that I don't know what happened to it. It disappeared. It disappeared. Just reminded, though, again, that there are no idle thoughts, that all thoughts produce form at some level, as indicated by miracle principle number 12, that miracles are thoughts. Doesn't say what kind of thoughts. It just says that miracles are thoughts, that thoughts can represent the lower or bodily level of experience or the higher or spiritual level of experience. One makes the physical and the other creates the spiritual. Dr. Holmes reminds us that life externalizes at the level of our thought. So talking about thoughts, that's really where we are today, keeping it, again, that we must watch our thoughts, that we have to go, that we do not guard our thoughts carefully enough. Emmett Fox says, change your mind and keep it changed. I'm going to end up putting that on the slide. Change your mind and keep it changed. And just remember that thoughts are things. We read that in our first slide every week. Thoughts and things are but two ends of the same proposition. And since it's impossible to stop thinking, we cannot stop creating. Our choice is whether we shall create constructively or destructively. I am pretty much complete here. If anyone has any thoughts about thoughts, I will go back to the um, slide about with the workbook lessons. And if there's anyone that stands out for you, we have actually, just about a minute, just about a minute. But just we'll stick with um, reminded that we are affected only by our thoughts, that we can elect to change all thoughts that hurt, that we can be hurt by nothing but our thoughts, not denying the thought, let not our mind deny the thought of God, being willing to loose the world from all that we think it is, that what we thought it was, escaping the world we see by giving up our attack thoughts, remembering that we are not alone in the effects of our thoughts, remembering and peace to my mind, let all my thoughts be still. And with that, in its own redundant way, over and over, we need to be reminded over and over again. Lynn, I'm turning over the mic to you.
Thank you so much, Zulma, and thank you everyone who joined us today. It's so good to see you all. Cynthia, McKaylee, and Cindy. I think she's gone already. Anyway, thanks you guys, and blessings, blessings, blessings. And we will see you